Let's bow in brief prayer. As always, we ask very simply that the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts may be acceptable in your sight. Amen. This morning, the Lanark paramedics were going to be present. They were sending a representative, but the representative had a family emergency and couldn't come. And of course, we will continue to remember those who serve us in EMS, in Smiths Falls and Lanark County, in our prayers, and of course, in our service. We are a blessed people. Now, I think we're all familiar with false virtues. Those things that we can say about people that somehow when we say it, it seems like we're being positive, we're pointing out a good characteristic when perhaps we're not quite so sure. Someone lets you know where they stand. And we say that as if it's a good thing. But also, that same person, in letting you know where they stand at every opportunity, is abrasive. Someone is decisive. They make a decision and they stick to it. But they're unmoved by new information. And it doesn't matter the quality of his or her decisions. They stick by them whether their instructions are destructive or impulsive. Someone sticks by their convictions, so they can't see the merits of any other more helpful way. Someone tells you what they think, but their words are offensive and rude. And of course, one of many people's favorite that sums up a lot of those is they call a spade a spade. And I don't know about you, but very often in my experience, people who are described as the best thing you can say is they call a spade, or sometimes described in less flattering terms. In the reading this morning from James, we hear, "What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if you say you have faith but do not have works? Can faith save you? If a brother or sister is naked and lacks daily food, and one of you says to them, 'Go in peace, keep warm and eat your fill,' yet you do not supply their bodily needs, what is the good of that? So faith by itself, if it has no works, is dead." Now, Trinity United Church, like all churches and religious communities, values the quality of belief. According to James, however, belief, like honesty, decisiveness, conviction, possessing ideas or ideals, may be commonly considered honorable qualities in and of themselves, yet we cannot accept this at face value. The effect of these commonly accepted virtues prove their value. How these commonly accepted virtues are lived out prove their worth. James is saying what we already know. Our worth, our regard, Our reputation in the community is based on what we do, not just on what we say. And of course, faith is important. Of course, it is important to know what you believe. It becomes unimportant, however, when it makes no difference in how you live. Next Sunday is Battle of Britain Sunday, and we will consider then how faith misapplied and words can become worse than useless. They become destructive when they remain unexamined and honor disengagement or harmful acts. Now, the gospel today is regarded by many as awkward. For some, it's even contrary to the image we have of Jesus. A woman whose little daughter had an unclean spirit immediately heard about him, and she came and bowed down at his feet. Now, the woman was a Gentile of Syro-Phoenician origin. She begged him to cast the demon out of her daughter. He said to her, "Let the children be fed first. For it is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs." But she answered him, "Sir, even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs." Now, it is common for people to wrestle with this. And it is common to see two interpretations. Either Jesus meant what he said when he said it, and initially intended to send the woman away. And if he meant what he said at face value, then the Syrophoenician woman taught Jesus a lesson in generosity. And in granting her wish, he admits that he's wrong. Another way some people see it is to say that Jesus was testing the woman's faith. She passed the test, so her request was granted. Now, of course, there's another way to see this. In Mark's Gospel, Jesus constantly knocks down barriers that have been erected by others and enforce an us-them mentality. And of course, often in the Gospel, this speaks to the barrier between Jew and Jew, the rich Jew and the poor Jew, the religious leaders who are Jewish and the people on the street who are Jewish. Today, Jesus is not faced with a barrier within the community, but between communities. Jesus' words about taking the children's bread and throwing it to the dogs would not have seemed offensive to his disciples. Jesus is calling a spade a spade. Jesus is letting the Syrophoenician woman know where he stands. Jesus is sticking to the common conviction. Jesus says what he thinks. Good for Jesus, the disciples think. Now, the disciples were more likely offended by Jesus' granting of the woman's request than by his insult. It is his listening to her and healing her daughter. That is the offensive part of the story to the disciples. In the Gospel of Matthew, in the same story, the disciples say, "Send her away, for she keeps shouting after us." They would have been very happy to see Jesus take their advice. They would have thought that Jesus was showing sense and drawing limits. Jesus, however, demonstrates a new understanding of faith, that the distinction between Jews and Gentiles doesn't matter. Jesus is not testing the disciples, the woman's faith, but the disciples. And even more, Jesus is not testing the disciples' faith, he is creating a new one. So the disciples live in a world where calling a spade is a virtue on question. Jesus comes to challenge their faith and make that faith real through action. Now this morning, we remember in prayer the Lanark County Paramedic Service. We appreciate the dedication to the work that keeps us safe every day. And today is an opportunity for us to provide the Lanark County Paramedic Service our prayerful support. Now, the practice of paramedicine requires knowledge and compassion, along with concern and sensitivity for the well-being of the patient. In keeping with this, their ethos and statement of ethics includes conserve life, alleviate pain and suffering, and promote health. It includes provide care based on human need with respect for human dignity, unrestricted by consideration of nationality, race, creed, color, status, sex, religion, sexual orientation, type of illness, or mental or physical disability. Paramedics teach us how to live what you believe. They care without judgment. They do not turn people away. A paramedic wouldn't arrive at a scene where someone has been T-boned in an intersection and discover that the person was T-boned because they were texting and missed the red light and went into the intersection into oncoming traffic. They wouldn't walk away. They wouldn't say, "You reap what you sow." A paramedic would treat you if you get drunk and fall downstairs. They're not going to come find you at the foot of the stairs and say, "Oh, drunk and stupid, it's your own fault. Have a nice day," and leave. Because they're there to care for you, not to judge. A paramedic doesn't come into your living room while you're having a heart attack and see a deck of smokes on your coffee table and say, "Smoked all his life, read the warning, he's getting what's coming to him, let's pack it up and go home." Because they believe that they care for all without judgment. And you know they care for all without judgment because you see them caring for all without judgment. And they teach us this. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if you say you have faith but do not have works? Can that faith save you? If a brother or sister is naked and lacks daily food, and one of you says to them, "Go in peace, keep warm and eat your fill," and yet you do not supply their bodily needs, what is the good of that? So faith by itself, if it has no works, is dead. May we be found a people who do not rest simply in the faith we state, but prove it in the work we do.